Hi, I'm Yesim Ak. I'm going to read a selection from my stage play Arcade Ray.
Yeah.
Act 2, Scene 9. Hotel room in Belgium. Arcade calls Sadie on her flip phone. Sadie, how are you? Yes, I'm in Antwerp now. Yes, it's very religious, but beautiful. I have to tell you about my last night in Berlin. There was this shop called Schwarzmode that I had read about that sold S&M gear, so I thought, when in Berlin, you know. I went there and spent over 2 hours trying to figure out whether I felt dominant or submissive. The man working there was very helpful. It turned out that he owned the shop. He asked me where I was going that night, and I told him the Kit Kat Club. I've always heard crazy things about it, and I happened to be in Berlin the one night out of the month that it goes on. Can you believe it? Well, he tells me that if I want to see something really hardcore, that I should go to the dark side. I asked him if he was going, and he said yes, so I asked him if I could join him. And he gave me the address and his phone number. Then I realized that I was running late for this concert I was going to, so I told him that I would call him after my show around midnight. I rush out of the shop with a big black bag full of gear and hail a taxi. I call my concierge on the way there to make sure the reservation was set. My concierge tells me that this concert is very strange. You know how I've been obsessed with Mendelssohn, with his Lieder und Wort lately. When I was looking through the City Guide earlier that day, I found this ad for a piano concert with works of Mendelssohn, Mozart, and Chopin. Anyway, she tells me that this concert is in a restaurant and they serve a 3-course meal, but she said that it all takes place in the dark. I didn't really understand what she meant, and I had dinner reservations at Cafe Eisenstein afterwards, so anyway, I arrive in Prenzlauer Berg. It's desolate. I enter a large building complex. I can't see any numbers on the buildings to find the address. I see a man come out of one door, so I quickly ran in before it closed and rushed into an elevator. Next thing I knew, I was going up. It was one of those glass elevators on the outside of the building facing into the courtyard. I realize I'm in the wrong place. There's no signs for a concert or anything. I grab my phone to call the place, and the man who picks up speaks English, thank God. He tells me that he'll come out to the courtyard to meet me. So I get off the elevator and see him waiting. He's a small man, like someone out of a David Lynch film. As I get closer, I notice that he has a headset on and a grin on his face. He takes me into the lobby to show me the menu. That's when he tells me what's about to happen. I tell him to pick my dinner since I can't read German. He tells me that we're going to go downstairs and meet Nadine. That she's going to be my server, and if I need anything, to just call out her name. He tells me that everything is in darkness and that everyone that works there is blind. Yes, blind. So we go downstairs and enter a small room. As the door behind me closes, the lights go out. And another door opens. The man puts my hand into Nadine's, and she leads me in. It's pitch black. At first, my eyes are open. I'm straining to see, looking for even a pinhole of light. Total darkness. I take baby steps all the way to my seat. I sit there, alone. Nadine leaves me to go get my drink. I can hear a light hush of people speaking German. It's all foreign to me. Then it seems like just a minute later, the music begins. Mendelssohn. I couldn't believe it. It was so beautiful. After a while, the music stops. I don't eat anything. I tried to, but I couldn't find the food on the plate with my fork, so I started to use my fingers, but whatever it was tasted disgusting. They could have been feeding me brains for all I knew. I call out for Nadine, but she doesn't hear me. I begin to get anxious. It seems like an eternity before she comes back. Then I don't know how to ask her if it's over in German, so we're lost in translation until she figures out that I'm ready to leave. She takes my hand and we walk back into that tiny room. But this time, when the lights came on, I saw her. She had no pupils, none. I looked deep into her cloudy eyes. It gave me the shivers. I rushed out of there and hopped into a cab, went straight to Eisenstein's. I ate Wiener Schnitzel. It was late by the time I got back to my hotel. I started to get dressed right away. I ended up being dominant. I guess it felt safer being alone and all. I called for a taxi, and when I got in, The driver didn't even take a second look at me, as if I looked completely normal. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I had a black mask on, like the one from Phantom, with velvet ties, a leather daddy hat, fitted black trousers, a black jacket with a torn wife beater underneath a harness, leather handcuffs, a leather chain belt, flat pointy-toed leather boots to my calves. I have to admit, there was one moment when I thought to myself, God, this could be really dangerous. But we had arrived.